We'll now move on to the presentation from the Volusia Flagler Commission on Homelessness. Sam Willett to present.
And as Sam's come up, you should all have a copy in front of you that Sam's going to be talking about. So we wanted to make sure you had that. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Sam Willett, 412 Black Oak Lane, Ormond Beach, Florida, representing the Commission on Homelessness. I think in past meetings, Commissioner Woods has probably presented to you data on the bridge program at the Salvation Army. And the information I have tonight in the first section of the presentation is just a current summation of that. The one thing I want to point out is that misdemeanor arrests, typically associated, but not always, with those who are not sheltered, in the previous 90 days previous to the establishment of the bridge program, totaled 129 arrests in the 90 days since the establishment of the bridge program. Those arrests have gone down to 58. We've talked to law enforcement professionals who patrol the area around the Beach Street, and they have reported an improved situation. I realize that for individuals who run into situations, that's still going on, but overall, very improved situation. I want to talk a little bit about what the Commission on Homelessness has done just in the last 90 days. This was previously the Continuum of Care. The Commission on Homelessness adopted its new name to signify its broadening approach from just HUD matters in terms of HUD funding to really trying to look at a comprehensive overview for how to approach issues of homelessness and risks of homelessness in the county. And right now we're developing a strategic plan, a comprehensive plan that should be done in July. And in addition to that, we're leading and coordinating efforts to develop and implement permanent crisis response shelters in both East and West Volusia. Now, in West Volusia, we're actually meeting in an informal meeting on Monday to discuss plans involving the Neighborhood Center in DeLand, and they, I believe, are going to have a public workshop on the 23rd. So we're moving ahead with plans for shelter facilities to expand in DeLand, and we're deeply involved in that, and that has been very encouraging. We also have a work group that is working on gathering up data for essentially a citizens' convocation of civic leaders to discuss homelessness and plans of actions for homelessness. What we're really interested in doing through the Commission is working to build a consensus around homelessness for the entire community. And we're going to be involving municipal leaders. We will be sending an invitation out to Mr. Chisholm and one of the commissioners or the mayor, and that's going to be a choice that you all will make. We're going to be reaching out to all the largest municipalities in the area, other governmental agencies, social service providers, and then business leaders to convene in a meeting to talk about building consensus around the issue of emergency shelter. Now, in terms of next steps, we want to continue to support East Volusia in terms of our plans for building and our sustaining emergency shelter. We also want to support West Volusia's efforts to build their own shelter. We want to convene that leadership meeting. We want to move forward the development of that leadership meeting and secure commitments for operating funds for basically the necessary operation of these shelters, and then continue the development of Hope Place. Now, this is primarily being spearheaded by HUM, but we're associated with HUM in our capacity, and then continue to implement a strategic plan. And I want to stop now and make myself available for any questions.
I want to make one other comment. If you see the last thing down there before data sources, branding and marketing of the Commission on Homelessness, or homelessness in the community is the vehicle. Cheryl Coxwell is here. I want to acknowledge that the Speedway and Cheryl, that they have come to the table and are willing to help us try to pull it together. So we're trying to pull a lot of partners together, but Cheryl agreed months ago to help us with this, and they are. So we're very appreciative of their support of this issue in the community as well.
We want to be able to have literature and materials for the community along the lines of Rethink Housing in Central Florida. I firmly believe that education of the community is a very important part of this to help them understand exactly what we're doing, what the strategies around HUD and Housing First are. That's an important part of it.
I have a question. We worked for a long time with many work groups on this issue, or a work group that came up with the Safe Harbor business plan. Have you guys read those minutes, or are you still considering any sort of centralized facility that was the result of that study and that work?
What we want to do in terms of building a consensus is to look at all our options, and that would entail not eliminating any options. So that would certainly be considered and studied.
Okay, and I think, are all those minutes, everything's still on our website, and there's record of all of that, so it's just a lot of good work was done to get to the point that I think the presentation in January kind of brought us to that point. So I would just ask that you take that into consideration as you continue to get consensus.
We will.
Any additional questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Willett, and thank you to your entire team.
Take care.